Hey everybody, okay, I'm back from now. This is the fourth video here in this plaster pouring series. I'm gonna pour the plaster now. This is an antique bottle that my grandma's that has some water in it. Okay, so one of the things that you learn is when your designs get even more and more detailed and intricate, there's little teeny grooves and holes and stuff that sometimes the plaster doesn't want to float into. If your clay is really moist and wet, the tile that you're going to make a mold out of, it's sometimes you don't need to use water to kind of lubricate it. What you're doing before you pour the mold. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pour a little bit of water on this tile. And what I'm doing is the surface of the tile is covered in water. Now you want to kind of go quickly here because the longer that water sits in the mold, it can start to break down the fine designs in the clay. So I put a little water in there. Now I'm gonna pour this in here. Now when you pour the plaster, you want to be careful that you don't pour it too fast and cause the tile to slip and slide around. What I do is I usually pour it in the corner and just let it kind of flood over the tile. Now right when the tile is just covered with a thin coat of plaster, normally I would have a straw. But what you want to do is you want to blow air over your design. And what that does is since you put the water over the design, and now first with this bottle here, and now I'm pouring the plaster over it, what it does is by me blowing on it, it really cuts that surface tension, and the plaster ends up flowing into all the little grooves and nooks and crannies. Another thing that you have to be careful about and think about is that sometimes you can't pour molds right away and you have to put your tile in the refrigerator, or maybe your tile took a long time to carve and it was about dry when you were finished with it. If your tile is completely dry, it's not the end of the world, but what can happen is when you pour that plaster over it, if it's completely dry, air is kind of trapped inside the clay, and it'll kind of very small air bubbles will bubble out, and you'll get these little bubbles in the plaster. So when you're pressing your tile, you have these little nodules that you have to kind of manually chip out. By pouring water on the tile helps to prevent that. Another thing that helps to prevent it is if you get really good at pouring plaster, you can actually wait until the plaster is just about ready to harden up. And if you know that the plaster is going to harden up in like 2 or 3 minutes, then you pour it right then, so that those little air bubbles don't have a chance to bubble out. The plaster will harden before they have a chance to do it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, but I'm also adding the water as another means to kind of put some moisture on the top surface of the tile so that it doesn't do that bubbling. So my plaster's starting to set up a little bit. Better speed this up a little. Again, it's something that you learn. You'll learn how to deal with plaster that's hard setting up. There's been many times where I poured plaster that is just about ready to set up, and I have to quickly smash it in, and you can. It's amazing because you'll get really scared that the mold won't be poured right by the time the plaster hardens, and then you'll ruin your design will be ruined. Again, it's something that you figure out how to deal with. I think I have just enough clay to plaster here to pour this final one. Let's see. It's really close. I might have to quickly make some more plaster. That was a quick pour, folks. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now I'm gonna do this here. I'm actually gonna scoop some plaster out of these ones that are a little bit fuller and add it to this one here because these ones don't need so much. That way I won't have to go make another batch, a little small batch real quick. So this is a very kind of time-sensitive event here that we just witnessed, and there we go. No leakage of the plaster from the clay I smushed in there. Molds are set. Now this will harden up in about an hour. And so in about an hour I'll be able to take these out. So tomorrow I'll come back and I will take these out and then we'll clean the molds and I'll show you guys how that process. So have a good night. Thanks for watching.